Whoa, making a video. Yay. Alright, so I thought I would just experimentally video. I have this contention I'm making, okay, that our consciousness is just the witness, and that we consciously do nothing. None of anything I am is something that my consciousness is involved in. It's completely just sitting back, having the input thrown at it. Like our senses, they sit here and they don't actively go into the world. They just sit back and the world happens to them. They don't do anything. And whatever changes take place in them, happens without your conscious involvement. It's like I just focused on the camera. I see the camera, where usually I can, the camera's not what I'm looking at, not my focus. My focus is not being controlled by my consciousness. My consciousness isn't saying, focus on the camera. It just happens that the camera is something I see now, where I didn't see it before, where it wasn't, it was in the field of view. I certainly can say there was a awareness of it, but there wasn't any. It wasn't the focus, and we know what the difference between these words are. So we know that our brain orients senses, and it does it without conscious involvement. Now we can consciously be involved when we know our body has stopped. It is processing, and it's saying do something. So a program just ran in me that said stop. We're going to demonstrate something. Okay, I'm not sure what I'm going to demonstrate, but it said something like, I'm going to demonstrate. Now here's a thing happening. I'm going to go out and I'm going to grab this. Now I didn't consciously have any control over any of that. It was indicated to me that this might be happening, that soon my hand might reach out and grab that stick. But I didn't consciously I didn't consciously have any impact on it happening. The decision to happen wasn't something that this level of consciousness, this awareness, the senses did. It was something the brain did to the sense mechanisms. So it ran the routines, and it certainly controlled all the mechanics. I mean, we know we don't consciously control the reflexes. So we learn to walk, right? It takes time to learn how to walk, and it becomes a subroutine. And so then when it's time to walk, the brain just obviously, I think it can be acknowledged, obviously, it just runs this reliable, efficient program. I've described this efficiency before, but that's the whole point of a subroutine, is to take the noise out to create a highly efficient physical mechanism of action and reaction that can be reliably run, and it will work. It will, in a very efficient manner, handle the physical function. So like when you learn how to juggle, or you learn a professional sports skill, it takes practice to get the error out of your subroutines until your subroutines are highly efficient at moderating the inputs and the outputs, and reacting to them in a highly efficient manner with almost no processing whatsoever, no evaluation. It anticipates in the programming the possible variances of reaction, and those are the only things it uses. So if something does happen outside the range of the usual, or the wind blows, something, you might not be able to handle it because it's outside the range of that program. Unless you've practiced in the wind, obviously. All right, so in this video, I've been saying all these things, and I haven't been saying them because I consciously said, well, this is what I'm going to say, and blah, blah, blah. None of that. I got a vague notion. This is the theme of the video. It told me the theme. My subconscious told me this is the theme. This is what you're going to talk about today. You're aware of the fact you've got to cut this shit. Little things are popping into my consciousness as I'm walking. I just thought of my mother because I opened up the possibility, did some multitasking. So I'm doing this video, and then in the middle of the video I'm thinking about thinking. And when I start thinking about thinking, then I start having thoughts about things that the brain just came up with. I didn't consciously say, go over there, think about that, have a thought about that, flower. My brain's doing it subconsciously. I'm given no. Again, how can I? It's just a bunch of output programs, muscle memories. My gestures, my routine of gesturing. Okay, I have to admit that's not one I use very often. But apparently I have a routine of gesture. I have a routine of how I make a video. I open the video with an opening. I mean, that's the routine. The brain has acquired these mechanisms of motion through the environment, these little output programs that are routine. You see a log, you step over it, you walk around that, you do this, you do that. It's a little cold, you move your shirt, you go, yeah. A black walnut almost hit your head. So it has these mechanisms of the outputs, and it has input recognition reflexes also, and that do change your focus. And a lot of those are still very native, like quick movements, because our brain is, meant to work in an environment where there might be threats. So we're still very susceptible to what was that, kind of stuff. But again, we're able to multitask. There's a theme here that I'm making a video, but there's the subroutine of walking the path to the place of enterprise, and there's these different things that are happening on different levels, and some of them are they're all subconscious, but some of them are more subconscious in that I'm not even given any conscious awareness. The fact that I'm walking in the right direction was completely out of my conscious perception for the first half of this walk. I wasn't even thinking about the fact that I'm walking to a place. I had no awareness of it. It wasn't part of any conscious awareness. And what my conscious awareness was aware of is, okay, how am I theming this video? Is it composing this? These are the thoughts that popped into my head. They're not created by consciousness. They're certainly created by my subconscious. And again, the consciousness is not controlling any of it. They're all routines. They're sub-routines. I mean, they call them that in programming. You write a piece of code that does one thing, and you just put it over here, and you call it send an email, or to take the browser to a different web location, or and it does a specific thing, and you just call it when it's time to do that. You just say, do that subroutine, and that's what my brain is doing. It's just reflexively taking in the world through the senses. Some senses are more aware than others. Vision is obviously highly important because I'm walking. I have to be careful not to trip on things, so I have to see where I'm walking. It does have a routine. The pattern is sort of muscle memoried. So in some cases, I think my brain automatically knows some of this path and is running subroutines of avoidance of certain visual tricks that exist here that might harm it. Something I might trip over or kick or whatever. So I think it already knows some of this just by it remembers the angles that I'm at, the distance I've walked, these kind of things. It already knows, it's anticipating what I'm doing. And so that's one piece of the sense data coming in that the brain is processing. And it's still at the same time, while I'm thinking about this path stuff, it was still making this video. It was still doing the thinking required, the sentence construction, the composition that just made this sentence. It's been doing all that while at the same time I'm looking at the path and thinking about path walking and doing all that. And all this stuff flies into, like I said, the senses are what we're conscious of. And there's a pipe, say this big, right? And that's how big the pipe is. And all the sense data might be, this big, all the sense data. So obviously what gets into consciousness is somewhat filtered and limited. So there is clearly, we feel it. When we're sitting here, we see the seeing come right into our brain, right into our consciousness. But the truth is, the seeing comes in and our brain bounces it into consciousness. All right? And it has to bounce it into consciousness through a narrow pipe. All the sense data is coming in big bulk amounts.
Right.
And subconsciously, crazy fucker, you're gonna bust your nuts. Impotent man. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, on your right. I mean, I don't even know how that's going to help me. I'm standing here. Some guy all of a sudden says, "On your right." What? I have to figure out what side. Okay, right is over here. He's coming at my right, or I should jump to my right. I mean, if I would have jumped to my right, I would have jumped right into him. I mean, you should just say, "Move left," or something more clear. Anyway, more that my brain would have to do less processing, and so I would know, get the fuck out of the way, instead of on your right, which my brain has to process. And it takes more time, and therefore I don't reflexive react. But again, all subconscious. Where was I? Yeah, so there's a ton of sense data coming in rawly, and our brain processes that, and out of it creates a focus, and the focus is what gets into consciousness. And so when we're not too visually distracted, we're not too sensually distracted, like we got a bellyache or a broken toe or some other bullshit, then our brain will fill the void with thoughts and ideas, and it'll show you some of the thinking it's doing, some of the stuff it's doing subconsciously, maybe all the time. It'll let you see some of it. Yeah. And you'll daydream, and you'll have meanderings of theme. And again, as the brain has changed the focus, it's put now saying, let's do some thinking. And so it starts running programs that run stimulus inside your brain. And so now, instead of reacting with subroutines that are hard written, you're reacting with subroutines that are a little softer. They have to do with word definitions, concepts like dog, dogs, variances, plurals, big picture context, little picture context, man walking on path by stream, planet hurling through space in the cosmos. It's running, but these are all also just reflexive subroutines. You have a subroutine for every word. You have subroutines that are, for even some sentences, have been turned into subroutines of their own. Like the two words "look out." You don't think of them as words like "look" and "out," whatever an out would be. You think of it as its phrase, "look out." So a lot of short sentences, "I think, therefore I am," might have subroutines tied that they're already written for. The sentence isn't about "I think, therefore I am." It is now its own subroutine, not a specific word in itself. And in that sense, we almost have an unlimited vocabulary, in the sense that we're working with themes, sentences, that have themselves become words. They've become defined things in and of themselves, reaction points. But yeah, again, it's all just nodes of reflex. You can have really big reflexes, like Irish dancing, you know, yeah, that could be a big reflex, you know, complex wooden shoe clobbing about, or you can have very simple reflexes like snapping your fingers. And kind of dry, I guess. Anyway, and it's all brain. It's all those nodes of subroutines, labeled subroutines, and when the labels match, the subroutine runs, kind of idea, and it flies through this mechanism where it's mixed in this consciousness. The consciousness just mixes the focused sense data, you know, the data bounced off the brain, focused and bounced, so it's quick, but it's not instantaneous, and the nuanced added value of the subroutines labeled based on what has been recognized subconsciously as important. Again, these reflexes are outside of awareness in most cases. Something moves over there and I go, whoa! I see it, I move, I react. Consciousness is irrelevant. I become aware of the fact that I have turned, looked, and became focused. And none of it was at any conscious direction. Yeah. So I think if you look inside yourself, if you analyze what's happening to you moment to moment to moment to moment, you can see there's nothing consciousness is doing except receiving the noise, the energy coming from these reflexive reactions of your brain. Your brain shoves this stuff into your awareness. It just slides it like cards in front of you, constantly dropping this stuff in. And the fact that you feel the continuity sometimes, you say, well, yes, those things match and those things don't match, is just another card. The sensation of the fact that it seems to make sense and therefore you think your consciousness is doing it is just another one of the cards. It's just one of the perceptions written by your subconscious that it puts into you, making you think you're consciously doing something when you're not. So anyway, looks like potentially a lovely day and such. Anyway, let's see if I can feel lovely. Yeah. I'm so pretty. No, I am pretty, but I feel ugly. And the pool still has a little haze to it. You know, the filter's only on 6 hours a day, especially this time of year. Economical savings and such. And, you know, hard to keep things pristine in that environment. But it is kind of nice, though. Lovely. You know, lovely place to work and such. Anyway, till next time.